gun news thing you had posted too, a little couple
Hey
of
folks,
minutes.
welcome back to the Trailer Park Show, where we
There you
are
are.
back with a
There you
brand
are.
new show and the full crew.
Yeah.
Feels pretty darn exciting if you ask me. So,
Brother?
My computer's up and running, it's logging up, it's booting up, so give me a few minutes.
Oh, no
I'll
problem.
tell you when that video's ready.
beautiful.
All right.
We're as with everything that goes on with the Trailer Park Show, sometimes things happen every once in a while where there's slight delays. But hey, it's live TV. What do you want to do?
And let me jump in here. We are honored to have Mike McNamara with us, but there is a piece of film out there. Well, you got to figure out how to email it, so you can email it to the press. Stealing campaign signs. Julian Lamont Fernandez got stolen one of his signs.
And in just a little while, as soon as we get some stuff taken care of on the backside, we're gonna try to see the video of the incident that occurred, so that people can see what's happening. But that's gonna be one of the things that we're gonna be working on in just a little bit.
And I don't know how many other. You say he's lost several of his signs, right?
Yeah, different. I do want to also mention for the record that you did email Sarah Eckhart twice.
Yeah, we'll
phone
get into
call
that too.
Twice, so
Phone call once, email twice,
we
and
want
got
to
no
let
response. Not even a polite no.
We want to vote. We want to educate the Travis County voters that you did reach out to invite her to be part of this discussion.
Certainly did.
This
One of
very
the things-
important race, which is the judges' race on the Travis County Commissioners Court.
Exactly, which is why we have Mike McNamara, who's one of the candidates for the.
I guess while we're waiting, we can let him go ahead and introduce himself.
Correct.
Tell us about your background and why you're running, stuff like that.
Correct.
Okay.
And if I may, real quick, just so that people are understanding exactly what happened, we wanted to bring on the candidates for the judges position. We invited the individuals that are candidates right now, and Sarah Eckhart has, for whatever reason, declined to be on the show to talk about the issues.
Well,
that
if
are
we're
going
going to stay on that for just a minute, I've known her, and we've gotten along pretty well, and that's why I was kind of surprised I didn't get a polite no. I thought that I'd at least get a polite no, but I got no response at
on.
all.
Because you're a Republican.
She's always responded before with a polite no or a polite something. But I don't know, maybe she's just swamped. I hate to give her the, anyway.
True. But while we're here, let's go ahead and
Some people feel that they don't have to work, for the people's vote. They feel that they're gonna automatically get the people's vote because
That's what I was thinking.
it's
That
gonna be handed down to them.
last thing she wants this early out is to be, this is live TV, so what you say here, you can't go back and edit it out. You know?
Well, I'm glad to be here. I appreciate the invitation. This is the second time, I think, in a few months that I've been here. And as far as I know, my opponent, Sarah, is in town. I know that she was in Africa for some time, which, it's kind of nice to be able to take off and go to Africa and spend several months. I'm not knocking that. If I could, I would.
As a county commissioner, she was able to do this?
I'm not, I come from a little different, I come from South Austin. It's a little different out there where I come from, but I live in East Austin now. I was born and raised in Austin. I'm fourth generation Austinite, and I know you guys know most of this, but I'll go back through it again. Was born and raised here. My great-grandfather came over from Ireland and was in the Army for 20 plus years, and when he mustered out, he had been stationed here in Austin and came back and started a business, bought his wife and I think a sister, and a fellow that he'd been in the Army with that actually married his sister. That's a lot of this stuff is verbal history, oral history. But we, yes, I can't take that right now, okay? We're on TV here, buddy. Help me out. No, anyway, so yes, I graduated from Travis High School. Went into the UT in 65, 66, and got to a point where I was about to get drafted, and I joined the Navy. I was in the Navy for 7 years, and was an electronics technician. Came out and went back to school, got a degree in journalism, and I've been working in the high-tech industry for over 30 years now here in Travis County. I've been active in local politics, grassroots politics for, since 76, 77. I got my degree, and like I say, in 76 and 77, I got very involved in the Austin JC's local civic community and organization. And through them, I started working for various people that were running for city council. So I've been a grassroots organizer, not a community organizer, but I've been working in politics for quite some time because I'm very interested in making sure that the people are represented. And that's always been my philosophy, is to find somebody I trusted and get in there and work hard for them. And when they got into office, I had somebody I could go and put my hands on and say, what are you doing to us? So this is my chance to stand up for the folks that, and this has been my motto, my slogan is standing up for the people of Travis County. And it's a heartfelt thing. It goes to the issues of making sure that people are served, that they're not turned away when they come with issues, when they come either to the commissioner's court or they call, that they'll be taken care of, that somebody will hear what they have to say. I've got a stack of information here, people that have contacted me about situations with the county where they feel like they've been unjustly served or not served at all. And that's a big deal for me, and I come with an open ear and an open heart. I want to make sure that everybody has an opportunity to, one, be served fairly, and two, to be protected. If we're not doing a serve and protect, then we're doing something that's outside the boundaries of what we ought to be doing. I honestly believe that to protect and serve is, you should be on the side of the police cars, and I think that's still very much fundamental to what the people in public office should be doing. Good roads and safe neighborhoods. Just boil it down to a bumper sticker. But as you know, there's a lot more to it than that. There's a whole lot more to it than that. The budget's coming up, and we're working very hard to get people involved in going down to the commissioner's court and talking on behalf of the people themselves, going and saying, look, our taxes are too high. You've got to lower the taxes. There's kind of a smokescreen that's been going around, a straw man argument saying, oh, it's all about the appraisals. Folks, it's not about the appraisals. It's about your tax rate. Your tax rate is controlled by the county commissioner's court, and they're the guys that can turn that faucet down. When the appraisals go up, the tax rate should be going down. And if it goes, there's what they call an effective tax rate. I don't want to get too deep into the weeds, but they are shown every year. The tax rolls are done from the previous year, and they said, okay, the guys come to them and say, here's what the rate should be to get you exactly the same amount of money that you had last year. You should be able to get by with that same amount or less each year instead of every year. Every year, and my opponent's been part of that, they have voted to raise your property tax rate. And folks are just, they're fed up with it. They're fed up. They can't afford it. They're moving out of the city or out of the county. Okay? So your EMS, your firefighters, your public servants are not able to live in the county that they work in. When we were together down at the Juneteenth, every public servant that I talked to there, not one of them lived in Travis County.
Bastrop County's got a whole bunch of them.
That Williamson, further south, Hayes, it's just not right. And the other major issue that we've got to talk about is traffic. Traffic to me has become a public safety
If
issue.
we could right here, real quick, I know we got two little short films you did. One of them is here, we will when we get to it. Transportation is a big issue, and the other one you just finished talking about is a big issue. I know we got a lot of questions concerning that.
Sure.
Do you want to stop and go over one issue at a time, or let it keep going?
It might be something good to talk about the issues on an individual basis. Because you mentioned something that was kind of interesting right now, where the people that are working for EMS are not living within the county. Or why? I know Austin has their problem.
Sure.
I know Austin has a problem with the high tax rates and all that stuff, and we've brought this up on several occasions with the candidates. What's the county going to do to go ahead and try to keep these people in here? Obviously, because it's county money.
Yeah.
I mean,
Absolutely. And it's all about priorities, and it's all about looking into that budget. And I found a slip of paper that I had written a speech back in 2010, and it's the same, almost verbatim, the same thing I'd tell you right now. We've got to find a way to go through the budget and prioritize to make sure that we're not wasting money. then when we find places where we're wasting, we can quit spending that money there and see about making sure that the folks that are working for us are properly paid. But the property tax rates and the city, of course, different cities handle things in different ways, but the city itself could provide a personal property tax exemption. In other words, the same thing as the county does, to give you an exemption that'll give you a discounted tax rate. But the city doesn't do that. And a little earlier, before we started, you asked what could we do working with the city? Well, there's a lot of things, I think, and we need to work very closely with the city council, especially with the new 10-1 folks, and work hard to leverage and lean on them, as it were, and say, you know, the people that live in the city of Austin are also constituents of the Travis County Judge. Everybody that lives within the county are part of my constituency, and if they're not being treated fairly as far as their own taxes, then I need to call up the mayor or whoever, or have a sit down with the whole city council and say, look, what are you doing here? Let's find a better way. Let's fix things so people don't have this tremendous stress put on them every year when the taxes come up. I know that my personal situation over in our area off of Springdale and 290, it took us 20 years working with the city and the county, because there's a road over there that they finally put through that helped take some of the pressure off of our neighborhood. But it took 20 years of hard work and pushing. But that's an example of how the city and the county have to work together, where two roads meet, especially if you're trying to cut a new one through and take some county property and some city property. You've got to have that capability, and I'm right in the middle of that. I'm all for it.
Let's play number one fairly quick, Bond. Stand by. We'll do number two fairly shortly thereafter,
Okay.
right?
This is what
And I got a bunch of pictures of you too I wanted to show too.
Okay, I'll quit talking.
No, we can, I did want to show these little films and try to get I had a hard, you put in Mike McNamara in Facebook, you gotta put in McNamara for judge or something.
Okay.
I was gonna put your Facebook, address up there. Because I
I
found a
sent
little.
you a couple of graphics earlier this afternoon.
You
I
did,
don't know.
I probably ain't turned on my computer now since about 3 o'clock, 2 o'clock.
Okay.
So they're probably still on the computer.
Yeah, I didn't get them out to you soon enough. They were just some of the new graphics that I've had a lot of help. This was one of them,
Nice.
and then there's another. Yeah, that's a little
Bob,
addition.
there you go.
Hey, like my wife.
Go ahead, hit play. It's only like 30 seconds, folks.
Right now, the Travis County Commissioners Court is considering raising your property taxes. It's totally the wrong thing to do in this economy. We've got to hold the line on raising taxes. We must figure out a way to keep our budget down, especially while people at home are struggling to keep their budgets down. Many people that I talk to are fearful that they're going to lose their homes because of the high property taxes they have to pay. Or even if they've already paid their house off, they feel like they're having to pay for it again. Some folks are fearful that when they retire, they'll have to give up their home. So we have to find a way to hold the line on taxes, hold the line on spending. Oh, yeah.
Travis County voting constituents pass.
Yes.
Okay.
That's very true.
So,
That's very true.
and we have another one coming.
In bonded indebtedness or something like that the term is?
Yes, we have a huge bond coming for the light rail, or I still call it light rail. I don't know what. But
Yeah.
you
That-
know,
It's just, they're just, there's no point in it, in my opinion. And there's so many things like going back to the speech from 2010, and that clip you just showed is from 2010. And it's amazing to me that the opponents in the commissioners' races are suddenly coming up and talking about, oh my gosh, taxes are too high. Well, they veered off because they don't want to say the word. They just can't get it out of their mouths. lower taxes. They can't, they just can't do it. So what they do is they veer off on appraisals. And they can go beat that all day and all night, but that's not gonna fix the problem. You know, and what they're trying to do is get the people that own businesses and so-called big corporate giants who they say aren't paying but 60% of their property tax. Well, they're getting them, they want them to pay more. Well, that's not gonna lower your taxes. That's not gonna help you at all. And, you know, those guys are paying a lot of money, but
They'll move out too.
the issue, you're gonna wake up one day, and you go down to your business and the doors are gonna be barred, and they say, well, we couldn't afford the taxes. So not only will you not have a job, you're still gonna have the high taxes. It ain't, pardon my terminology, but it's not gonna work that way. We as individuals and as groups need to stand up and say, enough with raising the taxes. We just can't afford it anymore. Now, the bonding and things like the commuter rail, which is a misnomer, I'm understanding, it's a light rail, it's an electric train. They could take buses for that money and run them bumper to bumper to bumper.
I mean, you can have buses everywhere.
All day and all night, yeah.
Every street, you
And-
have bus
and-
stops
and-
everywhere.
And for free, you know, but the fact is, and somebody suggested this, if that's a valid route, then put a bus on it. But the fact is, the bus system hadn't been working correctly either, and hasn't for a very long time. It's very unfortunate, and I was at the Commissioner's Court just last week, I think, or the week before, and the Metro folks were down there trying to get more money. And it was very interesting, but Commissioner Davis and Commissioner Gomez both spoke up and said, you know, why do you want more money? You're not even helping the folks on the east side yet. You're not serving the people on
Every
the
time you
east
turn
side.
around, they change the routes and they up the money, 'cause I've been riding here lately. When I first got disabled, I was free.
Yeah. Well,
And
you
then they
know-
want $1.
And you know one thing that's, and as of today, I still can't understand those 25-cent, 50-cent increases.
Yeah,
When you have a budget
Where the
and you
heck come
have
from?
expenses, you know, that just in one meeting of all those bureaucrats, you know, could pay for a lot of 25-cent tickets, $1
you can fill those
tickets.
buses up with a quarter a ride.
Hey,
Now,
Al,
I know that the other thing, excuse me, is that
Go.
on transportation, I just got back from Mexico City. Okay? You have buses, and they run every 5 minutes, if not more. Okay? And they're run independently.
Is that right?
Yes,
That's
sir.
right, they do it in
They run
in Mexico, they
independently.
got-
And they have the best engineered light rail system.
Is that right?
Oh, Mexico's got a beautiful subway. It's a subway in light rail, you know. And but I think the downfall here again is the buses. You know, you wait 30 minutes, 15 minutes.
You
Yeah.
gotta walk 1.5 miles to get to it.
Yeah, and not only that, if you're walking half a block down and the bus is coming, they take off. They don't wait for you.
Uh,
They don't wait for you. They
I
just
saw a lady chasing one over on Cameron Road, yeah. She could barely walk, and she's waving and
We
hollering.
sit out here in the hot
They
tub
just-
sun for another 45 minutes.
Left her in the fumes.
They look at you in the mirror.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, right, guys. Are you sure that wasn't Pokey doing that?
Yeah, it was like, hold on here, I can't
Now-
sit out here for another 35, 45 minutes.
I have seen people knocking on the front door,
Story.
and they will not open it. They take off.
I was taking the bus to work one day, and I don't know if this lady bus driver was behind time or what, but she was whizzing along, and I mean, she was heavy-footed on those little curves and stuff. You're going, falling out of the bus set benches, and then we're on William Cannon, and here's these people get up to go wait for her to stop. She stops that bus halfway to the next bus stop, and sits there and makes those people walk.
Well, something else that came up, I was talking to
Thank
a
you, Mahal.
lady, thank you,
Play some pictures.
that has a business right on Congress Avenue, and we were talking about trying to get, my daughter works down around 3rd and Congress, and this coffee shop is up around 10th and Congress, and we're trying to figure out how to get her, because she, you know, it's pretty hot, and she doesn't want to, you know, but there used to be a thing called the Dillos, and they trucked right up and down Congress Avenue all day
The
for free.
courthouse and-
It was great. It was great. And my wife My wife used to do a lot of jury duty. They liked her a lot for some reason, and she served on several pretty lengthy and big time type criminal and trials. But she would go to the Austin High School parking lot and pick up the Dillo there and ride it over to get off right there at the courthouse. No big deal, easy to do, and they just took them away. They just disappeared. One night they were gone.
So they don't have the Dillo anymore?
They aren't any around anymore. They're gone.
Now they got that triple digit bus or whatever it is.
Accordion, the accordion.
The accordion bus, yeah.
It's twice as long and twice as empty.
Yeah.
It's sorry. I don't understand it. I just and taking away lanes. Somebody brought up to me Sunday morning. I was riding with some guys going to Knights of Columbus down in Kyle, and the first thing he found out I was running, the first thing he brought up was, why are they taking away perfectly good traffic lanes on the streets in Austin and taking a 4-lane road and turning it into a 2-lane? And it's dangerous too, because they don't give you any warning. The first thing you know, you're in a merge lane and or a turn lane, and you didn't want to turn. There's a lot of money being spent on that, and I thought it had something to do with federal money, but no, it's totally city driven. So there's things like that people, but back to the thing with I-35 and SH-45, I was at a meeting about that out in Bowie, Bowie High School, and it's the same old rhetoric reintroduced, and the folks, there was like 2-to-1 people were for it out there. They need that SH-45 built so that they can get out of their own neighborhood and get down to Mopac, and everybody's saying, well, keep Mopac local. What does that mean? They don't want to, share the road, so we get down to Hayes County, and they're going to put a toll gate there and tell you can't come through here. You're from Travis. It doesn't work that way. But the bottom line is that one of the things that was said, that SH-45, that piece of it was part of a loop that was going to go around Austin, that would have relieved the traffic off of 35.
They need one.
And from 1990 something, it could have been built and finished, and we'd have been able to put trucks and cars off of 35.
Well, you're in Austin now. You know that way back in the 60s and 70s, the attitude was no growth.
That's
Remember?
right. It still
No
is. It
growth.
still is,
No
my
growth.
friend.
No growth.
They
Right.
still say the same words right out of their mouth. The problem is there's too much growth. I heard it on KLRN. I'm listening to PBS coming in, and the problem we have is growth. We got to stop this growth. How do you do
Who
that?
wants to do that? That's the major reason
The,
we're
the
going.
downside on that was that because that was the attitude, there was no investments in infrastructure
That's
long-term
right. That's
to
right.
accommodate
That's
the
right.
growth.
That's right.
So here we are, not investing in better traffic roads and whatnot,
Water,
because we don't
wastewater.
want the growth. We want, and then the same.
Well, they're building them giant condominiums.
Well, then the anti-growth people want to build under density. Build all these
High-rise
high-rise
condominiums and pack everybody
condominiums
in.
and all that. So those are a lot of reasons why Austin has become unaffordable.
That's right.
You
That's
know.
right. And you have poor service because you're trying to stack people, but there's very few people that actually live downtown, and there's very few people that can actually afford to live downtown. You ever heard of this? And here we go with the tinfoil caps, but the Agenda 21,
Oh yeah.
driven by the UN,
You
and I
think?
mentioned that to somebody else.
You
They-
laugh at them until you
Yeah.
actually see
Well,
it coming
you
through
know,
like
it's
that.
it's
A good friend of mine, Joe Quintero, has been mentioning Agenda 21 for the last 4 or 5 years, and everyone thinks, well, what is this
Yeah.
crazy guy
Yeah.
talking
See
about?
gentrification, don't you?
But Agenda 21 is why we have smart growth,
yes.
okay? And that's an Al Gore.
He
Planning-
invented the internet.
Yeah, it's an Al Gore.
There is a lot of people.
It's an Al Gore planning tool. And under Agenda 21, it also talks about a reduction in population.
Yeah. So I just cut back to my opponent is part of the program that brought us where we are today, and she will not be part of the solution. And that's what I'd like to talk about, and talk about the fact that, you know, she in fact, and I wish she was here because I've heard her say this herself, she's proud of the fact that she refers to herself as an old hippie girl. Well, that was, I guess that was
An
okay in
old
the
hippie pot
60s.
smoking girl, or-
Well, I didn't say that. I don't know.
We're trying to
I
avoid
really
the
don't know.
marijuana question here,
We didn't inhale.
That attitude about no growth came out of the 60s and 70s, and it has caused us immense problems right now. We have to provide for the infrastructure of the county, and the city of Austin's part of that. And the refusal to work with the state and other counties to build good roads for us to grow into is where we're at right now. Were there something to happen downtown Austin, either man-made, as in somebody flying a plane into a building like happened out on 183, or a natural disaster like Onion Creek, which also included flooding downtown, there will be no way to get the people out of downtown that are working down there. It just won't happen. We've got to think this through, and it can't happen. It's not gonna fix things overnight. Moving trucks like it was supposed to happen over to 130, that would help. We went up and down 130 just Sunday, and it was pretty busy. It was pretty busy over
How many
there.
of them toll booths they got between South Austin and Georgetown?
There's a few.
A
There's
few?
There's
And
a
every
few.
time you go, it's another buck and a half per
Cha-ching,
axle.
cha-ching. Well, you know, and I would have preferred, but that go back to
How many trucks were on there when
SH45.
you say it was busy?
Not as many as there should have been. That needs to be, and I've got some ideas about that too. But the fact is that SH45 would have been a free road had they built it when it was
This-
passed.
It's
And
a
now it's a
bar of
toll road.
soap. Stick it in your mouth.
Oh, what'd I say?
Do not say that words
What
again.
word?
Everybody heard what he said.
Hey,
Everybody, you heard what he said. You heard what he said. Everybody at this table heard what he said.
I was actually listening to Mr. McNamara, actually.
No.
I get excited talking about trucks, I guess.
Yes, he did, and he used the MF word.
Oh.
did.
Oh.
No, I
Yeah.
didn't.
Oh.
You'll hear it on the playback. Please beep it out.
Okay. By the way, Ms. Pokey,
You sent me something, but I'm not.
You better let
That's
Cargill
what-
do
oh,
that.
no,
I'll post
somebody had requested if you can show your shirt real quick on TV.
Oh, Lord, what
Post-
you gotta,
I posted about Pokey and his posse.
You got wonderful grumpy
You guys-
cat
you guys are a
with
posse
rat
now.
and a paw.
did I really let that slip out?
I don't know.
Yes, you did. You want to hear it on playback?
I
We'll
don't
hear
know.
it later.
I didn't hear it.
Men have different ears than women.
Well,
Yeah, I hear
well, what it is that we were actually paying attention to you as
Thank you very
opposed to-
much. Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
We'll
So-
take-
Transportation's a hot topic. It is very-
Transportation and taxes, that's the two things. And my third, I like, transportation taxes, and I call it the bottom line. And that's getting into that budget, line item by line item, field stripping it, something you'd understand, breaking it down into smallest pieces and understanding why it's going here and going there. As a technical writer, I like to take things and bring them down to their lowest level of understanding so that I can figure out how to tell people, this is how this thing works and this is how you fix it. And that's what I do. I'm a communicator, and that's the way I look at things. It's a curse in some ways because I'll sit there and read a telephone book all afternoon trying to figure out who I know, and I get entertainment in small ways. But the fact is, we got to, and there's two commissioners have already started this. In fact, they've done there's a study that's been done, and I don't know how much of it is going to go public or not, but they put forth a study to go look at all the different bureaucracies within the county and understand how well they're working, where they can be improved, where the hang-ups are, where the improvements can be made. But there's also always a place that you can find to improve a process and maybe save a little money, okay? And that's what I'm talking about. And there's some glaring errors that have been done in building projects and things like that that weren't overseen with the right type of folks, and not enough attention paid. We're spending too much money for property, and property that we don't necessarily need. We've got a lot of property. Now, interestingly enough, just the other day, I think it's been a week or two ago, my opponent came out and said, well, we could get rid of some property that we're not using. unfortunately, the very piece that she mentioned was one that's very highly used by the county and would cost a mint to get rid of and put something else in its place. It was a gas station right, I think, over on Lamar. And that's where all the county sheriffs and local guys, county, they go over there and get their gas. Now, there's ways to get around that. I understand that. But her suggestion was to make it a place for affordable housing. Now, high dollar piece
More
of
than hippie
land,
stuff?
high dollar piece of land that we're utilizing, well, okay, we might find a way to work around that, but best use to take a high dollar piece of land and how are you gonna do that? It just, something about it just doesn't make any common sense to me.
Right.
That's not gonna be the best use of that land. So there's issues like that that are gonna come up, and maybe that's why she's not here, I don't know. Because there's some issues like that that are gonna come up, and she's been very pro spending on buildings and that sort of thing. A lot of folks
I've
talk
heard that
about
about her.
buying that land outside on the perimeter where land is cheap, and putting those county offices out there where maybe by 130 where people can get to them pretty easy. I don't know. You know, there's a lot of different ways to do it. But putting everything right downtown goes back to stacking people like cordwood, and there's no way to get in and out. There's no parking.
No.
So here's a suggestion that's been brought up by Mr. Cargill when it comes to the city, when it comes to city offices or the city of Austin. If we have all the offices or all the county offices in,
Staggered hours?
yes, if they're in downtown with all the,
Medal of Honor when I'm standing there.
with all
Yeah,
the,
go back that one,
That's
Mo.
not a Medal of Honor winner.
Go back, Ma, what?
if
No,
they
go
have-
backwards.
That's my wife. Thank you.
if-
I'm
if-
sorry.
If you're looking at the possibility of that, where you're not gonna be able to get out of downtown,
Right.
would the option be feasible where you say, okay, let's go ahead and stagger the hours for the county?
Well, you know, and absolutely. There's that. There's working from home. You know, and that's kind of funny. I worked for a high tech. I've been in high tech a long time, and I worked for a company that was doing contract work in defense industry. And when price of gas started going up like crazy, I suggested that to one of the higher ups. He said, well, I don't know if we can open that can of worms. And I don't understand that kind of attitude, especially when you're talking to a bunch of guys that are selling technology. It just doesn't make sense. There's got to be a way, yeah, staggered times, that's a good idea. I definitely think that's a good idea. There's, you know, but as I say, to go back to when even the place where they put the county courthouse, now they've started paying people.
There's your Medal of Honor
Yeah,
winner.
yeah, it sure is.
Who's that?
Heck of a guy. I couldn't tell you his
Can't
name
remember his
right
name.
now, but
Thank you, Chris.
thank you. Yeah, it was an honor to get to stand next to him. He was one of those guys that went in country and wound up carrying his lieutenant out and swimming him out to the boat when they were getting picked up. So yeah, there's, as I say, I've got an open mind and I'll listen to anybody with ideas like that. I think when they put the county courthouse down there, and I know they had the reasons, and I'm not knocking that necessarily, but they did put a lot of money into that building and refurbish it, knowing that they didn't have enough parking going into it. And now they're paying
interject
people.
something right there?
Yes, sir.
The old one had a bus stop right out front. To go back to the transportation part there. It was easy for me to get there because the bus stop was right literally at the front door.
You know, sometimes I figure what kind of a person, what kind of education those persons that do these schedules, you know, have. Because I've seen some connections where, you know,
You know, have they ever been out here on this bus?
I mean, for example, you get a bus from Rebecca Baines and you want to transfer to 17 on Cesar Chavez. Well, here you go. Both of them. Well, you have Chicon sitting at RBJ for 15 minutes,
Yeah.
and at the last minute is you're trying to, the bus is trying to get to Cesar Chavez so you can connect with 17. and 9 out of 10, you're sitting at Cesar Chavez on Chicon while you see the 17 pass by Second Street. And I'm saying, wait a minute, you were sitting over there for 15 minutes. Could you at least taken off 5 minutes early, and I could have made my connection, on Second Street. But you mentioned ideas. Let me ask you a question, because last legislature, the legislature introduced a bill to have, because for those folks that don't know, in Texas, every county has 4 commissioners and 1 judge, regardless of what size. It can be the smallest and it could be the largest. And last session, the larger urban counties wanted a 5th commissioner. And I'm not too sure if you were aware of that bill or were aware of that movement at that time, but what's your opinion on that, of having a 5th commissioner in urban cities like Austin, for example, Houston, Dallas?
I guess I would like to look into it, though. They do have a 5th constable here.
Right.
They created a separate, and normally the constables follow the precincts, but they've kind of reorganized that to some degree. So it would be an interesting thing to look up and find out what their premise was to do that. Indeed, and if you know the history on the county commissioners and how they set that up, my understanding is that it goes back to even when Mexico owned Texas.
That was the oldest.
It was laid out,
form
yeah,
of government
yeah.
we've had.
And
Constables are the oldest form
Peace
of peace
officers.
officers.
Yeah, yeah.
Constable's
yeah.
the only one can go in and arrest a sheriff.
Oh boy.
Is that right? Oh, it's just the opposite.
No. And it's a very powerful position, the constables, and they go way back when.
Yeah.
When you were riding horses,
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the constables were,
way back when.
I thought
Yeah.
the sheriff was above, anyway.
No.
That's-
That's interesting. I'm gonna check into that. I've always heard that the sheriff was the highest level.
In
No.
the whole county.
No.
Yeah.
But the constables have for some reason, in our Constitution, the Texas Constitution, they have a unique power. Because I think we had constables in some of our counties before we had sheriffs. I don't know, especially like in the remote areas.
Yeah.
You know,
I
that was
think
the
you're
only
correct on
peace
that part.
officer.
You may be correct.
Anyway.
Yeah.
That
Of
was
course,
out
you
there.
know, Walker
But
Texas Ranger beats
the
everybody.
position of judge, the commissioner's court basically
Right.
is 5, and the judge's role, and I'm going back because I served there for 4 years, so I'm going back home for a while.
Go ahead.
And the judge's role is much more than the commissioner's. Can you speak a little bit, give us a couple of examples of what a judge can do that a commissioner cannot do?
Well, specifically, I'm not sure of. My understanding of it is, one, he's obligated to everybody. He doesn't sit in one precinct or the other.
Right.
And he sets the agenda, so he can kind of push ideas in that way, and he runs the meeting.
Right.
And that's those 2 things. When I was being interviewed in my previous in 2010. That was one of the things I got asked. Well, can you count to 3? Well, yeah, you got to have 3 votes. That was kind of a snarky question, but I said, but do you realize that the judge sets the agenda and runs the meetings? And as you know, if you run a meeting and you set the agenda going in, you can pretty much control the way things go. Now, in smaller population, there's a break there. The judge can actually do weddings, and he can sit in on civil courts and do
Here
court
as well.
decisions. Oh, okay.
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Here as well, you'll be marrying people.
Well,
And you'll be marrying,
my nephew wanted me.
Yeah.
He couldn't wait anymore since I didn't get elected in 2010, so he was waiting for that. But yeah. Okay, can
And,
still do that.
and another one is that's very powerful, is when there's a vacancy on the court.
Okay.
Only the judge appoints
Okay.
that vacancy.
Is that right?
Okay.
Only
Yeah.
it does not go before the whole commissioner's court.
Very
It's
interesting.
only the judge.
Okay, that's good
And
information.
when Bill Alshar was judge
Uh-huh,
in our tenure, our time, he appointed Bristol, and there was another one. He appointed a precinct 3 and precinct 2 commissioners.
Really? Boy,
So
I'd forgotten
talking
that.
about counting
I'd
to 3.
forgotten that. Yeah.
Well, that makes it easy.
Yeah, amen.
Hey,
Which,
I appointed you. I need your,
yeah, Yeah.
So that's
And-
what I'm saying. It's a very powerful.
Yeah, absolutely.
position.
And that's why there was well over like $1.5 million thrown at that race in the Democrat primary. Just an incredible amount of money in between the
wondered
two
about that.
candidates.
It was,
They are desperate to hang on to this position.
Well, you
They're-
know. Go ahead.
You know, but the budget has a lot to do with it.
Well, you know,
the
you-
public integrity unit and that sort of thing. It's all up for grabs if we shift a little power. And this is the thing that people have to understand, because people have gotten so jaundiced about voting. They feel like their vote doesn't matter. We have an opportunity here to change the way things are done in Travis County. The door is open for us, and we've got to get everybody to go vote. We've got to get everybody registered to vote.
There you go. In
And
October
make
the
sure they turn.
6th is the deadline.
Okay,
They
good.
want to register.
I appreciate
Want to vote in this particular.
That's right. That's
election.
right. And we're going to be working very hard. You know, people are very, very frustrated. They've lost faith in their government. And this is where it starts. This is why I've been so involved all this time since the 70s when I came out of the Navy to get involved in local government, because to me, this is where we can maintain control. My politics starts when I walk out of my front door and I stand on my front step and I see my neighbor here and I see my neighbor here, and the ladies, the widows and the folks, and people getting broken into, or somebody speeding down the street. It's all about your neighborhood, and then it goes out in circles from there. And that's where I come from, and what's happening to my neighbors is what's happening to me, and that's important. So when I say, like I say, I came up with this a long time ago, standing up for Travis County. It's something that's very important to me. I'm standing up for the widows that live next door to me that are afraid that their house might get broken into, or they you know, their taxes are going up so much that they can't keep their own home. They're taking, you know, that's taking the bread out of their mouths to pay taxes. That's wrong. It's just wrong. So there's lots of things that we need to look at. We've got to get our voters to turn out. We can make a difference. We can make a difference. I can work with people. That was one thing, and Andy Brown made a point of saying over and over and over again, was that he could work with people, and underlying what he was saying is that his opponent does not work well. She doesn't play well in the sandbox. It's just, you mentioned there were so many people that were endorsing against her, and I've spent a lot of time trying to understand that. And that won't get me votes, but it helps me understand, again, going back to my analytical being, I have to understand why people are doing what they did. And what happened in that Democrat primary was huge.
I think
It
part
was
of it's
huge.
what you said about this, they just believe that their system's broke.
Well, one of the
But
things.
the extremist part is another one.
Yeah,
One of the things is that you're right. You know, Andy Brown got all the endorsements that were out there.
Endorsed for everybody, get all
Got
that
all
money.
the money, but
I didn't realize it was that much money,
Well,
but
but one of the things that he probably missed, well, he definitely missed, is that the reality is that Eckhart had a base.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Eckhart had a base.
well, I thought Andy had a pretty
Bra-
good base
no,
too.
Andy's only base was the Democratic Party, and only precinct chairs vote for the Democratic Party chairperson. Whereas in this
But he
case,
was well known
you
and-
have constituents
yeah.
in precinct 2 that were voting for Sarah in her previous races.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
so when all was said and done, 17% of the vote came from her precinct for the
Yeah.
the judge's race.
Yeah.
So you know, the electric is unpredictable. You never know.
Yeah.
You know, you never
And
know.
that's why I say this is an open seat, and I think we're already started. We've been working very hard. I actually started. I never quit running from 2010. I got almost 40% of the vote, 90,000 votes almost, in 2010 against a sitting incumbent. So my base is out there. And now I've got to get the word out through this TV program and of
Any
course,
way you can.
Any way I can. We're walking, we're talking, we're you know, Facebooking, we're doing everything we can. I'm asking my friends, you know, I'll give them a handful of my cards and say, please, you know, if you see
still got
somebody in
3
the
of 'em.
grocery store, you see somebody in the you know, post office or somewhere, just ask them. You got a chance, ask them if they live in Travis County, and tell them, you know, I know this guy. He's running for Travis County judge. You know, So I'm working for veterans, I'm working for senior citizens. I'm right in the middle of that. That's me. You know, these folks that are on fixed income, you know, we have an issue and we have a chance to change the way things go. I'd like to see the county commissioners court change the way that they're run so that there's more public input later in the day. People, not everybody can get down there at 9 o'clock in the morning
Especially when there's nowhere to park and the bus stop is a long way off.
they put an express lane right down the,
Oh, it's changed since then, I guess.
You know, another government office that has no bus access is City Hall.
That's true.
You
I had
know
to
what,
walk 2
they're
blocks
3
from
blocks
Congress,
away
and now
from,
it's different.
But thanks to our
I know Michael's got a question over there of some kind.
to our Capital Metro geniuses, we don't have
I wondered that too.
access.
What can you do about Capital Metro if he gets in there? 'Cause
Well,
people,
The court appoints a representative
Yeah,
that's
they-
right.
amongst themselves
That's right.
to sit on the Capital
That's
Metro
right.
board.
That's
so y'all
right.
vote on
That's
somebody
right.
and
Sure,
put them
sure.
in.
You can have some leverage in there, and we've got to be more proactive in that.
Alright, it's that time where I start shutting down my computer.
No,
You
I
know,
wanna
you
play
any
that
other
film
videos?
first.
I play 'em back to back. 'Cause
Now
you-
we can skip
you
the
have a
video, but play the sign stealing video.
Okay, y'all want me to do that real quick?
Yes,
Yeah.
please.
Take a real quick one?
Yeah, if you're gonna turn the computer off.
We're just gonna do one thing real quick, folks. We want to bring up something that's coming up here in Austin, where there is signs that are being stolen from.
I lost 3 of mine Saturday night. You know, I had 3 signs in mine.
In your yard?
Yeah.
So we
I
want,
had Laura Presley, Edward Rios, and Julian Lamont Fernandez.
one of the things, and we wanted to bring it up. We wanted to bring it to everybody's attention that this is happening,
Yes.
so that we can
Yeah.
stress the importance.
It
that
seems to be on the east side.
And one of the things that people also need to understand that when you go on to person's private property,
It's
you're
trespassing.
trespassing.
Under the
Yeah,
cancel
there's no
doctrine.
audio to it, Ma, so you just
And
play
under
what
the
you
cancel
talk.
doctrine, you know, hey, heaven
Hey,
forbid.
Actually, criminal
I'm-
mischief at night.
I'm going to share with you one quick story because I've been working in this kind of stuff for a very long time, and one time I was
Okay.
putting out 4x8 signs.
Oh, you can still talk.
And
It's- it's
and
just on radio.
I had one lady, and we're talking 4x8, not yard signs, 4x8s. They were burned in her front yard. 2 of them.
Big 4x8
2
sign?
of them. Yeah.
Okay, here comes a car.
You see,
On the
pull it
right side
there.
of the screen.
I've still got the rim.
And my sign's left the
Gets
same
off.
way. They pull the
you see the
sign off
license
of the,
No, we cannot see the light. This is a video from the home across the
and
street.
when was this taken?
And
Yesterday?
you see him walk up to the fence, take the sign, go back into his car,
Whose
throw the
house is this?
sign. Julian
Oh, it's his
Limon.
own
That
home.
this is private home.
That's his home. Oh my
And
God.
then
Off of
this
his
car,
house?
yes.
Of his own home.
And then this car takes off north,
Which is a dead end.
which is a dead end, and he
Oops.
did not realize that.
Oops.
So,
See, drive it on down there.
Steal my truck.
And-
drove back in the parking lot.
and this is in bright daylight. This is
Yeah,
not
I'm
at
No,
thinking
night.
that's
that's not the
crazy,
correct
man.
date
So
and
he's gotta
time on
turn
there, is it?
That's
back.
crazy.
That's not the correct date and time?
No. And then you'll see the car as he
Yeah, it's
finally
almost a month ago.
discovered that it's a dead end. What are we doing here? We're playing it
Just
again?
replayed, I guess.
Oh, it's a loop.
Yes, it's a
Okay.
loop.
Well, that's not
Oh,
the
okay.
correct, that's a month old.
Well, still.
Yeah,
Here's the
yeah.
reality of the
This
situation.
but
Yeah,
but they
yeah.
what
Here's the
happened
reality
here?
of the situation,
He's
Seth.
supposed were
Yeah,
we
he looped
playing?
it. She looped it back.
She ran it back?
To the beginning, yeah.
Right.
So
Now
he
run
had to
all the
go
way
down there
through
and
so we
come
can see
all
him
the
come
way
back
back
out.
out.
Maybe you can at least recognize the car or something, huh?
Well, we know it's a Honda, but
Oh,
they
is
were they were not able to get close enough to take down the license plate. But yeah, this
Broad daylight, that's
this began early.
10 o'clock in the
ear-
morning.
Off of his own yard.
Up in his own yard.
How many has he lost since?
Well, since then he's lost around maybe 15 or 20.
Damn.
A lot of them in the Montopolis area.
Oh, yeah, okay. Not just
And-
off of his property.
No, just,
Yeah.
not just off his property,
Yeah.
but we also have a candidate, we ain't gonna mention no names, that also lives in Montopolis. It has a real strong environmental group,
Yep.
but,
So what's the district he's running in?
3.
District
And
3.
he's coming, and you
Okay,
see
here-
the vehicle
here-
coming
See,
back.
here
Okay,
comes
here
out.
comes the car back,
Is that a
Oh,
Honda? Yeah.
okay.
and there he goes.
2-door, 4-door, I can't tell.
Yeah. It's a 4-door.
So,
Thank you, Ma.
I posted on my Facebook, the campaign has begun.
Oh, yeah.
The
And that's the
campaign's
film I was gonna ask
have
you, do you know
begun.
how we can email that?
Yes, we'll get that. I'll get that.
But I
And you know,
guess.
those things aren't cheap either.
No, you're talking about $4 or
especially
$5 average.
Yeah.
Minimum.
Well, I lost 3 Saturday night.
So.
They left the stand, they just took the sign off the top.
So just to let you know, folks, you know, it is trespassing, and under the Castle Doctrine, you know, you can be a little bit, you know, you got some very strong supporters of the Second Amendment that don't like people coming onto their property. You know,
Yeah,
just
it's-
saying, you know, just.
Hey, Mike.
You know, the other thing, when on my last race too, and I'm talking about 4x8s, no sooner than the ballots had been counted that night, my signs and my stakes were gone before the morning, the next morning. Those stakes are $3, $4, $5 a piece
Holy
as
cow.
well. The
Well, I
big
know they
T-posts,
like
so-
to cut those big signs.
Yeah, that too.
I have a question because, and I know Michael can answer this. Right now, even if you have a license, can you walk into a courthouse with a gun?
No,
No, it's prohibited?
that's prohibited.
What about
That's a felony.
a commissioner's court meeting?
No, that's court. And plus, they have a 30.06 sign posted outside, so no, you can't do it.
That's interesting.
That's what I look for, 30-06, and you can't.
Can the judge carry a gun in there? Oh, okay. Just wanted to be sure about
He's
that.
set. Well, well, Mr. McNamara, we want to thank you again for being here with us. We want to,
Oh, we
before
still
we
got
go,
5 minutes.
I know, but we've got
Time
one more
goes
thing.
by
We've got
awful
one more thing
fast.
that we want to bring up that Gavino
yeah.
wanted to talk about.
Yeah,
That way we can go and reserve that to the very end. But we want to thank you for being here with us on the Trailer Park Show.
Absolutely.
If possible, tell us one more time as to why people should vote for you.
Oh, absolutely. Listen, if you want to change the way your local government's being run, you need to change the mindset and change the skill set. I offer a different approach because I've got a business background. We have too long just thought that you had to elect a lawyer to be your representative, and that's not the case. The judge oversees the budget, runs the meetings, and as you say, has other extra powers that most folks aren't even aware of. So my background is in high-tech industry here for over 30 years. I was born and raised here in Travis County. I'm very involved in my neighborhood and my church, and as a veteran and as a senior, I have an interest in making sure that all folks are taken care of and protected. Protect and serve is a big deal. Taxes, transportation, and the bottom line. That's the budget.
And you said you received 90,000 votes the last time?
Yes,
you ran?
sir, right, just under. Yes, sir. So
Well, you know,
that's the rock bottom.
I
I'm
didn't know
building
that
on top
many
of
of
that.
y'all are here.
You'd be surprised.
Travis County.
You
kinda hide in the
need
shadows.
Republicans.
Yes,
Yeah,
yeah.
we kind of had, we kind of like, you know, the undocumented.
And
people.
growing.
We're kind of hiding in the shadows.
And
Yeah, I'm growing.
I
We
think
are
I'm
growing.
I think I'm gonna get some folks from the east side because that's where I live. I've got an interest in how things go on the east side and growing business and making sure people have jobs. Not everybody's a high-tech guru. You gotta have some jobs that people can get in there, roll their sleeves up, and make things, make food, you know.
As the county turns blue, as the state turns blue, the cost is the county would turn red. That's gonna be
Think
the
so?
cost. Oh, yeah.
I'd rather keep the state red than the county.
That's gonna be the cost.
As we get closer to September
3
or the end
minutes.
of August, school's gonna be starting. and
Exactly.
We just wanted to make a note to those of you out there that on Saturday,
On
August
August 16th.
August the 16th, AISD will hold its 4th or 5th annual Back to School Bash.
Correct.
So all youngins get free,
School supplies
You
and
get free supplies. Basically, folks, if you guys want to go to austinisd.org/bash, you'll be able to get a whole bunch of information. They actually have it they have the flyers in 3 different languages. They have it in English, Spanish, and I think in Vietnamese, as you can probably tell.
What, no Irish?
No Irish. Sorry, there's no slurring
we're
on that
discriminated
sucker.
against.
There's no slurring on that sucker.
And I forgot to mention one quick thing, www.votemcnamara.com.
All right.
You can get all the information you need and get in touch with us.
Well, sure, you take your
It's a
computer
beautiful,
down.
it's a beautiful
so,
site. It's really, I like the site.
And if you're a loyal Republican, a loyal Democrat, remember that you can split your
That's
ballot
right.
in November.
And I believe this should be a nonpartisan race
Yeah.
because the judge has to represent all the people in the county, and that's very important.
Not doing the county any service by voting a straight ticket.
Amen, bro.
Exactly. So, folks, just as a quick reminder again, August 16th, it's going to be the it's Austin ISD and the city of Austin present Back to School Bash for AISD students and families at the Austin Convention Center from 9 a.m. to noon. The address is 500 East Cesar Chavez. For more information, you can go to the website austinisd.org. You can also do Austin ISD Back to School Bash, and you'll get a whole bunch of information on there as well. Shuttles every 30 to 45 minutes. Great group of people that are on there. You got Seton Health Plan as one of the sponsors, the A+ Federal Credit Union, the Neighborhood, Anderson Foundation. I mean, you can find a whole bunch of stuff in there that are out there.
Well, with 1 minute left, we will be back next week with some District 10 candidates. I do appreciate Mr. McNamara coming on talking with us.
It's my
we might
pleasure.
get him on here again, and I know that if he does win, he won't hesitate to come down and talk with us.
Amen.
Uh,
I'll be here.
there's so much going on to get involved in. Go ahead, quick.
Well, just
What
wanted to, after the 10th, maybe look at District 1. See if we can bring Oral Houston and all 7 or 8 of them that are running for that district.
All I've got,
only 3.
all we have planned is for next week is District 10.
that many.
After that,
And District 1's one of the smallest ones.
Well, no, District 2 is, they only have 2.
yeah, we already had the 2 from District 1.
Yeah.
Oh,
And
30
will
seconds.
we have a new candidate running in for District 1?
But I will talk to you. You'll hear me on Talk 1370 AM on Sunday at 4 p.m. Come and talk.
Yeah, that is a really good radio program you got going on
We
there,
have
too.
a national radio celebrity here.
National radio celebrity here.
National Radio
Let's
Celebrity
see you
and
next week,
an
folks.
international show. All right.
Yeah, we appreciate you tuning in. We will see you next week,
give you
and we
one
thank you, everybody, for showing up.
Whoop, whoop.
Get busy. Bye-bye.